Welcome to the UK Travel Planning Podcast. Your host is the founder of the UK Travel Planning website, Tracy Collins. In this podcast, Tracy shares destination guides, travel tips, and itinerary ideas, as well as interviews with a variety of guests who share their knowledge and experience of UK travel to help you plan your perfect UK vacation. Join us as we explore the UK from cosmopolitan cities to quaint villages, from historic castles to beautiful islands, and from the picturesque countryside to seaside towns.
Hi and welcome to episode 119 of the UK Travel Planner podcast. This week, Doug and I are here to talk to you all about our recent UK itinerary.
Hello.
So if you are following us on Instagram, UK Travel Planning, or in our Facebook groups, so we have the UK Travel Planning Facebook group, the London Travel Planning Facebook group, and we also have a
UK Train Tips
Facebook group. So if you were following along in any of those, or you receive our newsletter, you'll know that we recently basically did a 17-day trip around the UK. In fact, we visited every country in the UK. Now, the first thing I am going to say before we even launch into this is that this is not necessarily an itinerary that I would recommend that you follow to the letter, as in we did this very quickly so we could see how it worked and how the public transport fitted together. And the reason we did that is quite often in itinerary consults, we're asked about this particular route, whether it's going clockwise or anti-clockwise. So we basically wanted to try it out, didn't we?
We do. We've done all these places before, but we just wanted to try alternative means of transport as well.
Yeah, so basically, to give you a quick overview of what we did, we basically started in Birmingham. We then went to Cardiff, on to Chester. We then actually went over to the Republic of Ireland, but it was a very, very short visit into the Republic of Ireland before we headed north to Northern Ireland and Belfast. Then we were headed over to Scotland and we were in Glasgow, Edinburgh. Then we went up to the Isle of Skye before driving over to Inverness and taking the sleeper train down to London. So that is kind of our itinerary in a nutshell. But what we thought we'd do is we'd kind of just chat with you a little bit about, I guess, how we planned it in a way because we knew we wanted to kind of cover those spots and we knew we wanted to do that route.
That's right. We listened to people's concerns, issues and questions from our itinerary consults, made a note of them, and then we addressed those on the way.
Absolutely. So if any of those destinations are on your potential itinerary when you visit the UK, it also is worth noting that we have got destination guides for each of those destinations, which we'll be updating very soon, that you can also see in our Instagram stories, and we have reels, and we're soon to be putting together some YouTube videos as well with things to know before you visit these places and how the actual route went and how we got around, and sharing some tips. So those will be coming. So do make sure that you pop over to UK Travel Planning and check out all of that information that we share all of the time. Now, also want to say, before we go into too much detail, that we are going to be talking generally about our trip and kind of how it went. If you're looking for more detail about any of those places in terms of podcast episodes, if you tune in on November the 12th, we have our Belfast episode coming out, which is episode 124, which is basically our itinerary for Belfast. So we're in Belfast for 3 days, and it's basically what we did in Belfast in a lot more detail. And then in episode 125, which is out on November the 19th, we talk about our Skye itinerary. So we were on Skye for 4 days, and we talk about what we did, how we got around Skye, and also some actually quite essential tips, I think, that it wasn't our first visit to Skye, but there are a few things we thought, this is really kind of things that people really need to know before they visit Skye. So is there anything else you can think of, Doug?
No, what I'm saying was that the time spent in planning, was well spent.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely essential to plan this. And yes, we did have all of the accommodation booked. We had the car that we hired in Edinburgh booked. We had the Caledonian sleeper booked. We did not leave it till the last minute. And I know there seems to be a bit of a trend that people want to kind of just wing it and be flexible. Well, we didn't want to wing it. We didn't want to be flexible. That sounds wrong. But we actually knew exactly what we wanted to do. And we booked the tours. We didn't want to miss out on anything. And I know I spoke to a friend a couple of months ago who actually was in Belfast and was unable to book a couple of the things that we did because they were fully booked. So I guess it's up to you. And this is advice we say. We never, ever say to anybody, you have to do this or don't do this or do this, really. We just advise, really, that if there are essential things that you want to do, if you want to hire an automatic car, for example, we recommend that you don't leave that to the last minute. If there's a specific tour that you want to do, we recommend you do not leave that to the last minute.
Same with restaurants. And if one place you desperately would like to go and experience, for peace of mind, it's worth trying to book it in advance.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's talk, without further ado, let's talk about our itinerary. So we started off in Birmingham and we headed up to Cardiff. Now, as I say, this was a very, very whirlwind itinerary. So we only actually spent one night in Cardiff. So the journey we took by train?
We took it by train, a direct service from Birmingham New Street. I reserved seats in advance, made it easier. Then we arrived straight into Cardiff Central, which is right close to the city centre.
Yeah, and I made sure I booked a hotel, Sleeperz, which was right next to the hotel, right next to the train station. Right next to the hotel was right next to the train station, as I say, and so that made it easier. And we really, what I wanted to do in Cardiff was just explore a little bit of the city. I wanted to go and check out the Victorian arcades and the Central Market, and we wanted to go and have a look around the castle, which I was actually blown away by. I had not been inside the castle before, and honestly, it was beautiful.
Yeah, and we were lucky with the weather as well. That made a big difference.
Yeah, so definitely would be spending longer going back to Cardiff, I think, again. Though, I mean, the afternoon, honestly, it was we fitted a lot in that afternoon. The weather was really good. And I really enjoyed the castle, I have to say, was a highlight for me.
Yeah, it was. It was good views. It was really, really pleasant. And then after we went to Cardiff Bay, we caught the train down to the Bay Area and had a look around there. Very short train journey, and we weren't there that long, were we?
Well, we had a meal there.
Yeah, other than a meal,
yeah. So that was easy to do as well. So again, we'll have a Cardiff destination guide, so you can check that out, and an article about things to do in Cardiff. So the next morning, we woke up and we hopped up on another train.
Yeah, direct service to Chester. Went the slightly longer journey there because I wanted to explore more or less through the centre and by Craven Arms that way. And it was absolutely fantastic. It really, really was. We were lucky with the scenery because the times I've done that journey before, I haven't been blessed with fine weather. But this time we were lucky.
Yeah, so in Chester, we were staying in the Hotel Indigo Chester. We were invited to stay. So thank you very much to the Hotel Indigo Chester. And I actually want to give a huge shout out, actually, because the staff were fantastic.
They really were. From our arrivals to the moment we left.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. We had a beautiful, beautiful room. The food was fantastic. As I say, the staff were amazing. Particularly, I'm going to big shout out for Steve on reception.
Yes.
Who could not have been any better. I mean, he was probably one of the best guys I've ever met on reception. Anybody on reception.
He was outstanding. He was telling you everything you need to know before you even knew that you knew it.
You needed to know it, yeah.
You needed to know it, yeah.
So it was great. Food was excellent. So honestly, if you are planning to add Chester into your itinerary, and we're hearing more and more, actually, Chester is coming up. Absolutely, the Hotel Indigo Chester is the place to stay. We really loved it, and it's very, very, very close to the centre, very close to the train station, very close to the centre. So we're able to go and explore Chester. We went and explored the Rose. We had a look at the Roman amphitheatre, what's left of the Roman amphitheatre. Yeah, just enjoyed exploring Chester, the cathedral. It's a wonderful city. You've got Roman walls around the city. There's a lot to see and do in Chester. Again, we only spent one night, and I'd recommend staying a little bit longer if you can in your itinerary. But really, we had a lovely stay there.
We really did. Yeah.
And then we had a fairly early-ish start the next morning. So where did we go the next day?
We headed up to Holyhead, North Wales, on the Anglesey Peninsula for the ferry across to Dublin. Yeah,
so we caught the ferry. We were very lucky because the crossing was very smooth. Doug gets a little bit seasick, shall we say. So he was very pleased with that.
I was.
We're going to skirt over Dublin because it's a Republic of Ireland, so obviously nothing to do with the United Kingdom. So we'll talk about Republic of Ireland on our visit to Dublin in the Global Travel Planning podcast. So if Dublin is somewhere that you're planning to visit, do pop over at the Global Travel Planning Podcast, which is also run by myself, and we'll talk all about what we got up to in Dublin. We had a wonderful tour in Dublin, I will say, which we will talk about in that podcast. So we just spent one night and one full day in Dublin before then.
We caught the train from Dublin Connolly train station to Belfast Lanyon Place train station, which I will say has been replaced by the Belfast Grand Central interchange. The trains into there are not yet fully operational, but the buses are.
Yeah, so we decided to spend 4 days in Belfast because it's somewhere that I wanted to find out more about. It's somewhere we wanted to explore. And Doug had spent some time in Northern Ireland before. I actually hadn't. So this was the first time for me to actually spend some time in Northern Ireland and familiarising myself with it. So loved the 4 days that we spent there. Honestly, it was a very interesting place to visit. We found all the people so friendly, so welcoming. And we basically, in those 4 days, we did the kind of classic things that I guess everybody does when they go to Belfast, in that we went to the Titanic Museum. We did a day trip out and we went to the Giant's Causeway because, you have to do that, don't you? We did a hop-on, hop-off bus tour. And also we did the political black taxi tour, which kind of tells you about the Troubles and really should be compulsory, I think, and essential if you're visiting Northern Ireland and Belfast to actually learn about the Troubles. So as I've said, we will talk in far more detail about Belfast and share that 4-day itinerary with you. Actually, it was 3 full days because we actually left on the Monday morning. So it was actually a 3-day itinerary that we did. It was very full. The weather was good. We had about 10 minutes at the Giant's Causeway where the weather seemed to go crazy and it was windy and rainy and like a squall, but then that was gone. And we really enjoyed Belfast.
We did. The moment we arrived, we met with welcomes and smiles, and everybody was just very pleasant.
And we had an exceptional Sunday roast there. Again, I'll share that when we talk about the itinerary. And we stayed at the Hampton by Hilton. Again, lovely staff and a really nice day.
And also very close to the new interchange station.
Yeah, so it was very easy on the Monday morning when we had to check out and we had to actually be over there by what time? Just after 6 a.m.?
Yes, very early start.
So what did we do on the Monday?
Well, we caught a bus from Hannon Buses, and that was very, very easy, very straightforward, and took us directly from the interchange bus station via the ferry to Glasgow Buchanan Street bus station.
Yeah, so we went over, took the bus, took us onto the ferry. We crossed over on the ferry, which again was another smooth crossing. I cannot believe this, honestly. We were very, very lucky. Got off at Cairn Ryan.
Yes.
And then the coach then took us to Glasgow bus station. Now, I will say the views on that route were fantastic.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous, gorgeous Scottish scenery on that coach trip. So sit on the left-hand side. That's what I sat on the left-hand side. So I've got some fantastic pictures.
Yeah, and obviously if you do it in the reverse, sit on the right-hand side from Glasgow.
Yeah, if you're on Glasgow to Cairn Ryan and then over to... But how easy that was. I honestly did not... It took me by surprise just how easy it is to do that trip. And again, that is something that has been asked so many times about that kind of Belfast, Glasgow, how to have to get over there. Honestly, take the ferry. I mean, I'm not sure. I have to say, in the middle of winter, I'm not sure if the seas are a bit choppy that I particularly want to be on it. And I know it won't sail if it's particularly bad anyway. But I just thought it was so easy.
That's right. Because I mean, some of the logistics can be a little bit tricky if you're doing it on your own. Particularly from Cairn Ryan to Glasgow or vice versa, because there's no train directly the whole length of that journey from Glasgow to Cairn Ryan. So you do have to look at different modes of transport. So by using the Hannon coaches, it's all done for you. Very straightforward.
And it was not expensive either.
No.
So again, we'll share... Well, I guess we can share that in the Belfast one, but it really wasn't very expensive, was it?
£44.
That's it. Was that each?
Yes.
Yeah, £44 each. I mean, it's excellent. Really, really good. So we were in Belfast again. We were in Glasgow for one night. Now, Glasgow's a city I do enjoy visiting, and we did a bit... We jumped on the Clockwork Orange, didn't we?
We did, and that's just what it says. That's the underground circuit in Glasgow. And there's 2 lines. One goes clockwise, one goes
Anti-clockwise. So,
or counterclockwise.
Yeah. So we went to the art museum.
Kelvin Grove.
That's right. Went to Kelvin Grove Art Museum, had a look around there. And then we hopped back on the train and went back, and we decided to walk up to the necropolis.
We did. We've been there before, but it never ceases to amaze.
And it was a beautiful day, and so we've got beautiful views over Glasgow. And then we walked back via checking out some of the street art in Glasgow. So basically we had probably about half a day in Glasgow.
Yes, we did, yeah.
So then the next morning we hopped on the train, which is not too far. We went to Edinburgh.
Yeah, because we're stopping there in George Square, right next to the Queen Street railway station in Glasgow. And then we caught a train to Edinburgh. Just takes 15 minutes on the faster service. But it was pretty busy, the train, I have to say.
Yeah, it was. And then we spent 2 nights in Edinburgh. So there were a few things that we wanted to do in Edinburgh that we had on our list to do on previous visits and had not managed to get round to. So one of them was
we went to the Royal Yacht Britannia.
Yep.
And the other one was?
We went to Rosslyn Chapel. Yeah. So we arrived on the, was it the Tuesday morning? Yes, Tuesday morning by this point. We left our luggage. We always stay at the Auld York guest house with Murray, does a fantastic Scottish breakfast. Yes. So we stayed there, we dropped off our luggage, and we headed straight off to the Royal Yacht Britannia. Now, we hadn't actually booked tickets for this. I will say I did not. We went and we just turned up, and we managed to get tickets, didn't we?
We did, and we went on the tram, because the tram stopped straight outside the Auld York guest house. So we caught that from the name of the place escapes me, but direct down to the Leith Ocean
Terminal.
Sorry
about that. So the Leith Ocean Terminal, and I thoroughly enjoyed.
We did.
The Royal Yacht Britannia. So it was everything I actually thought it was going to be.
Particularly because I had a cup of tea and a Victoria sponge.
You did have some Victoria sponge cake.
My favourite.
So that was really good. And then the following morning, so the Wednesday, we decided to go to Rosslyn. So that's what we did.
We did. We caught the bus from just off Princes Street there, next to the Marks and Spencers, and we'd already done the homework as to which bus we could to catch, because there's 2 buses with the same number, so it was the destination specific. And I'd already booked tickets for Rosslyn in advance to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And subsequently, I've actually exchanged them for a yearly pass, which entitles you to.
Well, so just to let you know, if you have an interest in Edinburgh, that Doug and I will actually be in Edinburgh for 6 weeks. So we'll be basing ourselves there for end of December through until the middle of February. So if you have a particular interest in following what we are getting up to in the UK, particularly Edinburgh, you're going to be able to find out lots on Instagram and the Facebook group, aren't you, in January?
And that's right. So if you have any specific questions or queries that you want us to check it out, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so then that afternoon I went to make a bag. So making the Scottish, what's the name of the tartan bags? Can't think of the top of my head now. Bag, I went and made that. I will share a bit more about that in the show notes. And an affiliate link. So if you want to go and make a bag yourself, I know it's very, very popular to do. And it was actually quite easy. And I love my satchel. It's really pretty. So we went and did that. And then
we didn't.
Okay, Doug didn't. I went and made the bag. And then we met up afterwards for dinner, didn't we?
I booked that in advance as well, which was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, so we had a good couple of pub meals actually in Edinburgh, which was really, really nice. We went to the Queen's Arms.
Yeah.
And then the Toll Booth Tavern.
Yes.
Both were excellent, both really good food, but really you need to book ahead because they do get popular and they all get very busy. And there was quite a few people being turned away, actually, I think, at the Toll Booth Tavern.
There was. One of the other pubs, the World's End, was not currently doing food, which made it even busier.
Yeah, so it made it. So again, planning ahead, thinking about where you want to eat, it is important, because there's nothing worse than just spending your hours, or even it feels like hours, wandering around looking for somewhere to eat.
And when you're hungry as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that was good. So then the next morning we headed up to the airport, didn't we? Hi, it's Tracy here. Just popping in to say, if you're enjoying the UK Travel Planning Podcast, I have some exciting news. Why not join us on the Global Travel Planning Podcast, where we bring you travel inspiration, itinerary ideas, real-life adventures, and practical tips to make your travel dreams a reality. We've already explored Japan, Vietnam, Queensland, and Switzerland, with more thrilling destinations coming up. So tune in on your favourite podcast app and embark on a global adventure with us.
We did. I'll book that in advance, just get a slight reduction by booking in advance for the tram ticket all the way from St Andrew's Square to the airport.
Yeah, so we picked up
We
a
had
car.
a particularly special experience on the tram,
Oh,
didn't we?
yes, we did. So I had the night before received a message from the lovely Emily to say that she was in our Facebook group and a podcast listener. So hello, Emily, and was really hoping that she'd bump into us, but hadn't. Anyway, she was saying that the next day they were leaving and they were flying off to Dublin. And I said, well, we're heading to the airport in the morning. And so what happened? We end up...
Well, Emily recognised my legs, apparently. Thank you, Emily.
Because Doug had been wearing a lot of shorts, and so we've been putting pictures on of what we're wearing every day, because we found that's very helpful when deciding what to pack, because you can see exactly what we're wearing. And so she looked up, and then the next thing she was like, Doug. And then so it was lovely. So we've got some lovely photos. Got to meet Emily and Ryan, her partner, and I say off they were flying to Dublin and then back to America. So hopefully, Emily, hello, you're going to be coming on the podcast to talk to us all about your itinerary. So I guess it just was meant to be.
It really was. Made our day, didn't it?
It did. It was so nice. So yeah, we picked up a car from Edinburgh Airport and we drove to...
Well, we drove to Malik via Callander.
Yes. We did stop off and see some Scottish cows, Highland cows.
And then after Callander, we stopped off at the Green Welly.
Yeah, the Green Welly stop. We stopped there. And then, of course, you have to stop off on your way through Glencoe. I mean, that's kind of compulsory.
Glencoe. And also we stopped off just before Malik to look at the Silver Sands.
Yes, we did. So...
And Moha.
Oh, yeah. And then we checked in our accommodation for the night, had a really good meal, actually, seafood, really had some lovely scallops in Malik. And then the next morning we caught the ferry.
Which obviously we'd already booked in advance for the Caledonian. And yes, and then we had Caledonian McBrain. And then we had a lovely drive from Armdale. And we stopped off how many different points, didn't we?
Oh, we did. Just kept stopping because you just kind of... Well, to be honest, I think that entire drive from Edinburgh, it's just... There's so many places you pass. So you go through there, and then, of course, you go on the ferry from over to Armadale, and then you're driving through Skye. And it's just... Honestly, it always takes my breath away because it's so, so beautiful. And we try to encourage... A lot of people talk to us about doing that kind of Edinburgh up to Skye and then back. And we kind of do encourage you to do that in a loop, because if you go over on the ferry, so you're doing that kind of Fort William up to Mallaig drive, that's stunning, beautiful. And you obviously you pass the Glenfinnan Viaduct going that way. And then if you come around the other way, you get completely different views, but you're not missing anything. You're not missing anything. Everything's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And, why drive the same route? You might as well do a different route. So we were in Skye for 4 days and we had perfect weather. I cannot tell you how perfect this weather was. Well, I am telling you. But it was stunning. Yeah. Blue skies and sunshine. Not a cloud. I don't think we hardly see any clouds, do we?
Saw some fog though, didn't we?
A little bit of fog, before the sun kind of burned through. But otherwise, it was beautiful. Exceptionally good weather for Skye. Exceptionally. Again, we'll talk far more in episode 125 about what we got up to on Skye. But suffice to say is that we did a lot of driving. We saw a lot of sheep. We saw a lot of beautiful scenery. We ate a lot of beautiful, lovely seafood.
Really did,
yeah. And just had a fabulous time on Skye. But as I say, again, tune in for more information about Skye, because it's a whole episode really talking about what we did and what we saw and our tips for Skye.
Yeah.
But after 4 nights in Skye, and we stayed in a pod, which was amazing, lovely. If you've not stayed in a pod before, check out the show notes. You can see the pictures. But then we drove to Inverness on our last day.
We did, via the bridge to Cardiff.
Yeah, and then we were planning to stop off at Port Augustus on the way, but unfortunately, it was the one day we actually had a lot of rain. Yeah. So we actually decided just to head for Inverness and Inverness Airport to drop off the car. Now, one tip, if you are planning to drop off a car at Inverness Airport, and we know quite a few people who intend to do this or have in the past when we've done itinerary consults, fill up your hire car before you get to the airport. There is no petrol station near the airport. You really need to do it just outside Inverness. I think we did it at the Tesco.
There's a Tesco. It was very reasonably priced.
Yeah, so we filled up with the Tesco, I think, which is about 10 kilometres, 10 miles, maybe 10 miles away from the airport. That's the closest. In fact, we got to the airport and then had to turn around and then had to drive back 10 minutes to go and put the petrol in. So make sure you do that before you take the car back. We then got the bus into Inverness.
Yes, because there's a new train station open up at Inverness Airport, but it's further than you think to walk to. It's about 15 minutes walk to the between the airport terminal and the train station. And because it was pouring down with rain, we asked the information desk and we're told that there's a stagecoach bus. It was number 11 we caught. But instead of catching it to the train station, we decided to stay on the tour all the way into Inverness itself for the train station.
We actually went into Inverness train station, absolutely, which is
easier.
Because we're catching the Caledonian Sleeper. So then we left our luggage at the train station.
We did. It was an attendant on duty there.
Yeah.
Because the actual it was cash only for the luggage themselves, but that was not working. So that they give us a ticket and we paid at the ticket office.
That's right. So we left the luggage there. So then we had a little bit of a walk around Inverness, went to Reekie's bookshop, which has always been on my kind of list to do.
Yeah.
And then we went to Johnny Fox's for a fabulous meal.
We did. I've been there so many times over the years, and it's one of my favourite places there. I've been there in the evening because there's live music on every single evening there.
Yeah.
And I've listened to various bands and things there in the past. Excellent evening entertainment. If you're ever in Inverness,
Johnny Fox's, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to share this with you as a podcast listener, so don't tell anybody else. But if you are planning to visit, I guess, any restaurant, just double check that you book the right one. The reason I'm saying that is we walked into Johnny Fox's and I said, we've got a booking for 6 o'clock. And they went, no, we haven't no booking for 6 o'clock. And I said, no, I've confirmed it. Anyway, the bartender said, this happens a lot, but there's a Johnny Fox's in Northern Ireland. So I was like, maybe that's what I've done. Anyway, luckily we managed to get a table because we were actually an hour early. And we sat down and I actually checked my emails because I had confirmed this booking and then realised that I actually had booked a Johnny Fox's in Perth in Western Australia. So many apologies to the Johnny Fox's in Perth, Western Australia for the fact that Tracy and Doug Collins did not turn up. The reason we did not turn up is because we honestly thought we had booked, or I thought we had booked Inverness Johnny Fox's. So there's a little bit of a tip. Do book ahead for your restaurants and where you're going to eat, but just make sure you book the right one.
And in the right country.
In the right country, exactly. So that was a bit of a oops. So then we went and caught the Caledonian Sleeper.
And we did. We're there in good time. We obviously booked it in advance. So it was all very smooth. We entered the berth, filled out the breakfast card for the morning, hung it on the door, and then we went to the lounge car.
We did, and we sat and had a drink before kind of retiring to the berth, and that was it. Going to sleep.
Yeah, and both of us slept well.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So we did order breakfast in the morning, which I have to say I wasn't overly impressed with.
No, porridge was okay.
The porridge, the continental breakfast, but I wasn't over the moon. So maybe take your own food if you want to have breakfast on there rather than order it. But we arrived in good time into London, Euston. And so on the very last day, so we arrived in London, so this is the last day of our itinerary. We actually were invited by Live Tours, so thank you so much to Live Tours for this, on a private tour of the Imperial War Museum and the Churchill War Rooms. Now, we had luggage with us, so we obviously could not take that to the Imperial War Museum or to the Churchill War Room. So what did we do with that, Doug?
So right outside, we arrived into Euston at platform 15, and then right next to that is the left luggage at Euston. So we left 2 items there, anything of value we took with us, laptops, etc. And then we left a suitcase and a backpack.
Yeah, so we decided to try that because if you go onto the London Travel Planning website, there are a number of options for where you can leave luggage. There are a number of companies that offer this. So we're trying kind of all the companies out to see how it all works out, and we found that it's great. So we decided this time to leave them at the train station, which was quite expensive. That's one thing. It was £30, £35, £30. And we didn't leave them there a huge number of hours, maybe 6 hours, not even that. I think maybe 6 hours. So that's an expensive option, but that is one option I will talk about that you can do. But I will put a link in the show notes to options in London of where you can leave your luggage. As I say, we wanted to try this out because we had not tried out the train station before.
But for ease and convenience, it certainly was the easiest way of doing it.
Yeah, it was easy for us at that time. Anyway, so we headed down to the Imperial War Museum, where we met the fantastic Andy, who was our private guide.
He was absolutely outstanding.
He was outstanding. My brother knows a lot about World War II. I will say that, but Andy has a PhD in World War I. I think it was history. He knows so much. You could ask him anything. He was so interesting to listen to. So if you have a history in we're learning about World War I, World War II in London, honestly, you couldn't ask for a better guide.
He was, and I should say thank you, Andy, for your patience as well when Doug got his dates wrong and bits of information wrong, and being very kind when you explained to me why I was wrong.
Yeah, but it was great. Honestly, I learned so much. And I will say, I used to be a history teacher. I was a history teacher. So I've taught about World War I and World War II. So I've got a fairly reasonable knowledge. But honestly, Andy's knowledge was just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Dates, events.
So
incredible.
Yeah, it was really good. So thanks very much, Live Tours, for inviting us to on that private tour. It was brilliant, and I will link to Live Tours in the show notes. So do pop over. Please do go and check through show notes for links to the hotels that we stayed in, the tours that we took. All the links will be in there. Please do use our links. It helps support our work. They are affiliate links, but it's of no extra cost to you if you click on those. But it helps support us with the podcast, the websites, and everything that we provide for free. And also, if you'd like to, and we love it when people do, and I am going to be giving shout outs, if you'd like to sponsor the podcast, really, it's very easy. From as little as $3 a month, you can sponsor this podcast. And we are going to start giving shout outs to all those wonderful people who do support our work. If you think about it, it's very, very little, and we feel that we do bring a lot of value.
Yes, so thank you very much.
So then after that, we went, and after the tour, we left Andy at the Churchill War Rooms, and then we headed up to Euston.
Yeah, we took the tube back from Waterloo to Euston. Very straightforward, very easy.
Yeah.
We collected our luggage. We had some food.
We had some tea, and then we hopped in a black cab, which took us over to Marylebone.
Straightforward, great taxi driver. Yeah.
And that was it, and headed back to Birmingham. So that was the beginning of the trip. So we did in basically 17 days. That is our itinerary of how we got around. Train, ferry, car.
Yes.
Black cab, tube when we were in London. So we used lots of different transport. We found the ferries really, really easy. I mean, we did 3 ferries. One as foot passengers, one we went over with hand and coaches on the coach, and then as foot passengers, I guess. And then on the third, we actually drove the car over to Skye. So we did it in 3 different ways. So we tried lots of different accommodation, from budget accommodation. We're in a pod to, some of the beautiful, beautiful accommodation like the Hotel Indigo in Chester. So we tried out lots of different things and just had a fantastic trip.
We did, and different meals as well. We've had some budget meals, and then we've had some very excellent meals.
Yeah, a lot of meal deals. Anyway, so that was our trip. We hope that you found that interesting. If you've got any questions, please do get in touch. Join the Facebook group. Send us an email. Do check, as I say, the show notes, which will be at uktravelplanning.com/episode 119. But I think that's it for this week's episode. And as I say, if you want to know more about Belfast and Skye and what we got up to, you can listen in on episodes 124 and 125, which will be out next month.
Excellent.
Okay, so it's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the UK Travel Planning Podcast. As always, show notes can be found at uktravelplanning.com. If you've enjoyed the show, why not leave us feedback via text or a review on your favourite podcast app? We love to hear from you, and you never know, you may receive a shout out in a future episode. But as always, that just leaves me to say, until next week, happy UK travel planning.